All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about something that could be a massive game changer for medicine. It's a new painkiller coming out of Japan called ADRIANA. And the big promise here is powerful pain relief without the terrifying risk of addiction. But before we get into the solution, I want to start with a number. 80,000. That's how many people died from opioid overdoses just in the United States, just in 2023. That's not just a number on a page. It's a full-blown public health crisis. And it's exactly why we so desperately need a new way of thinking about this.
And really, it all comes down to this one huge question, right? It's the dilemma that pretty much everyone in medicine has been wrestling with for decades. How do you relieve someone's very real, very intense pain without sending them down the path of addiction? It's a tough one.
So to really appreciate what ADRIANA is trying to do, we have to understand the problem it's trying to solve. Let's talk about opioids and how, for all the good they can do, they've also created this devastating crisis.
Yeah, opioids, things like morphine, they're the classic double-edged sword. On the one hand, they are incredibly good at what they do. They knock out pain like almost nothing else. But that power comes with a really, really high price. We're talking a massive risk of dependence, of addiction. And then there are the dangerous side effects like respiratory depression. That's where your breathing can just slow down to a crawl. It's this terrible trade-off that's at the very heart of the opioid crisis.
So, with this crisis as the backdrop, a group of researchers over at Kyoto University in Japan thought, okay, what if we just stop playing this game? They decided to look for a completely different way to tackle pain, one that sidesteps opioids entirely. And what they came up with is what we're talking about today, ADRIANA. This isn't just another pain reliever. It was designed from the ground up, from scratch, to be non-opioid. So this is not just a slightly better version of an old drug. We're talking about a whole new way of working. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the difference here. Traditional opioids, right? They go straight for the opioid receptors in your brain. That's how they work. But ADRIANA, it just doesn't do that. It completely ignores that whole system. Instead, it taps into your body's own natural pain-fighting system, which is centered around a chemical called noradrenaline. And that's the key takeaway. By taking a totally different route, it's designed to give you the pain relief without the addiction.
So you're probably asking, what the heck is noradrenaline? Well, think of it as your body's own private built-in emergency response system. You know that adrenaline rush you get in a stressful situation? It's related to that. When things get serious, your body floods your system with noradrenaline to numb the pain so you can deal with the threat. What's so clever about ADRIA is that it's designed to basically tap into and boost that natural ability.
Okay, so how does it actually do that? It's basically a three-step process, and it's pretty slick. First, ADRIANA goes in and blocks one specific thing, a receptor called alpha-2b. Think of it like flipping a specific light switch off. When that switch gets flipped, it's a signal for your body to start pumping out more of its own noradrenaline. Then, all that extra noradrenaline goes and flips another switch on, the alpha-2a receptor. And that's what turns down the pain. It's just a really smart way of getting your own body to do the heavy lifting.
So the science is definitely cool, but what does this all mean in the real world? For patients? For society? Let's zoom out and look at the potential impact here.
The implications are just huge. First off, a safe, non-addictive painkiller would be a massive weapon in the fight against the opioid crisis. It would give doctors and patients a real, viable alternative. That could mean fewer people becoming dependent, fewer overdose deaths. It's a direct line. Plus, think about people with chronic pain who've been struggling for years to find something that works without ruining their lives. And on top of all that, a big win here could spark a whole new wave of research into other non-opioid drugs. It could change everything.
And look, this isn't just me saying this. The lead researcher on the project, Masatoshi Hagiwara, put it really well. He basically said that if this works out and gets to market, it would give doctors a new tool for managing pain that does not rely on opioids. And that could seriously cut down on how much opioids are used in hospitals and clinics. That's the dream, right?
Okay, so this all sounds amazing, which brings up the big question. When can we get it? How far along is this thing really? Let's take a look at where ADRIANA is on its path to patients.
The good news is this is way past the idea and a lab stage. ADRIANA is making real progress. It already aced its phase 1 trial, which is all about making sure it's safe. Then it went into a phase 2 trial with patients who just had surgery, and the results were described as highly promising. And as of right now, even bigger phase 2 trials are happening in the US. So it's moving along, hitting its milestones and getting closer and closer to becoming a real option.
So all of this leaves us with a pretty hopeful question, doesn't it? Could we finally be looking at a future where managing pain doesn't automatically come with the risk of addiction? After decades of this crisis, ADRIANA feels like a real, tangible step in that direction. And honestly, that's a breakthrough that would be absolutely worth the wait.